Assassin's Creed Valhalla is a couple of weeks away, and we're both pretty long-term fans of Assassin's Creed. But definitely in the most recent years, the last two installments of Assassin's Creed have left us definitely a little bit more than uh, sort of thinking about what the series could be doing better. Definitely with the last two, it hasn't been amazing. So here we're sort of looking forward to Assassin's Creed Valhalla and seeing what might be changed and how they might be taking the series in a better direction. So I guess I'll let you go into your sort of thoughts on Assassin's Creed Valhalla coming out in a couple weeks.
Sure. Well, my initial thoughts when I saw the first leak or release was actually that I didn't care, as bad as that might sound. Being, someone that does generally like things of Viking origin based on our own origins, and obviously the channel name and everything else, usually that kind of gets some of the juices flowing and gets me a bit interested and excited. And I've played Assassin's Creed ever since the very first one came out. I loved it and replayed them all pretty much that I've played. Steadily, Ubisoft sort of turned me off to the series, though, from about Assassin's Creed 3, which is the first one that I didn't finish, onwards. And then I kind of touched back in with Syndicate, but that was about it, really. I then went on and got Origins, because it was a whole different thing. It was just open world, more RPG style. And heard how good, people loved it, but I didn't like it. It wasn't my favorite. And I've got Odyssey, but I've never started it yet. So that's a bit of the backstory for me. I just didn't really care when I saw it. I thought, they're Vikings. They don't have assassins in the Viking times. And I don't know if they are still having like the Hidden Blade stuff going on, or it's just a Viking story.
He does have a Hidden Blade. Unlike in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, where the main character does not, the main character in Valhalla does have a hidden blade.
Well, this makes me very angry. This makes me very, very angry. So we'll see. I'm sure at some point I'll end up getting it, but I'm not going to be rushing to get it, anytime soon. Let's put it that way. It looks like they've just wanted to make a Viking game, a bit like they did for Honor, which wasn't a Viking game, but you could be a Viking. But slap the Assassin's Creed logo on it to try and get increased sales. That's what it looks like. I mean, I'm sure that's not what it actually is.
I'm sure it'll. I'm sure it'll intrigue you to know that I think the For Honor team actually helped with the combat of the game. So that's probably why you're seeing that as well. I think they are directly involved in the game, actually.
Well, so it sounds to me like then that For Honor team made a Viking game, and then Ubisoft said, I know, let's whack in a couple of Assassin's Creed like stuff and then whack the label on it. And it sounds like the game was going to be like Valhalla, and that was it. And now they've decided to call it Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Yeah, I think they've they do have like a direction they obviously want to take the Assassin's Creed series with, obviously starting with Origins and then Odyssey and now Valhalla. I don't really agree with these three games being Assassin's Creed. Like you say, I think it would just make more sense if they just called the game Valhalla or Origins or Odyssey, or just make a new series like Warriors Creed or something. I don't know, just something separate, because it's definitely I feel like the Assassin's Creed franchise is just becoming an excuse for different historical backdrops, and I have nothing wrong with cool historical RPGs. Like, I actually think I would really love Origins, maybe not so much Odyssey, and I think Valhalla, I think I would really, really enjoy if it wasn't called Assassin's Creed. I think Assassin's Creed is a very separate thing to what we're seeing these days with these games. Not that these current games are that bad. Like, I think they would be really, really cool if they just took them in a different direction and called them something else. Because I would love to have like a historically set RPG in the way that they are doing with these games, that just doesn't have to fall back on the name Assassin's Creed, because that's just not what it is, really.
Yeah, I mean, case in point, it says it's going to be structured. It's an open world adventure game, which already is not a massively Assassin's Creed thing going back. Assassin's Creed was quite good for, obviously, if we go back to the original two, let's say, there was 3 cities, there was a bit of no man's land in between, if you like, or whatever, and it was all focused around that, and it wasn't like out and out open world, but there was a bit of flexibility over how you did things. Obviously, it's gone to this open world game, and basically you're this Ivor or whatever, this Viking raider in old Britain. And here you go. The player will have the choice of playing either as a male or a female, and is able to customize the hair, war paint, clothing, armor, and tattoos. To me, that's not Assassin's Creed. To me, Assassin's Creed, they're not. It's not. It's not an RPG game. It shouldn't be an RPG game. Make a separate RPG game if you want, but to me, that's not Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, well, I think the first big mistake is having the option to be male or female. I don't really understand. Like they always do some kind of like gymnastics to try to like fit that into the animus, and it just doesn't make sense. Like there's no way that a specific ancestor could have either been male or female. It is very like it's very important like which one it is. I have nothing wrong with the main character being a female if that's what they want to do, but like you got to commit to that if that's what you're going to do. Like make the female character a female. Don't like sort of flip flop it and be like, oh, you can choose. Not really. It's an ancestor. It was a specific person. They were either male or female. There's no like variance there. You can't mess it up.
Well, I mean, that tells me that there's also going to be not much modern day and animus stuff.
Yeah.
You know, it's all going to be in the animus more or less, which, again, I think has been one of the things that has killed the series slowly but surely. Desmond's story was compelling. The fact that what was actually going on in the modern day was compelling because that's the natural conclusion. We want to see a conclusion as well. By all means, go back still. By all means, go to these different areas because, you know, people want to see stuff in those areas. People want games to be made about certain areas that they can go to and sort of interact with. Absolutely. But they killed off the modern day story in one fell swoop. And that, I think that happened in Assassin's Creed 3 actually. And I think that's when I stopped. Because they said, what's this? What's this all about? And they haven't created a compelling modern day since, really, if they've even bothered with any modern day stuff at all, which they haven't done, I think, for goodness knows, like 5-6 years, to be honest.
Yeah, they've got this new character, Layla, who's basically just a vessel for the game to like happen. It doesn't really matter. Like she just hops in the animus, and that's kind of it.
Yeah.
Her story is really boring. There's just nothing going on there, and I think, as I said, I really think a separation of the Assassin's Creed franchise from these historically set games would be nice, because I think I would really, really enjoy these games as just a historical RPG. That sounds really, really cool, but they need to stop pretending it's Assassin's Creed when it's really, really not. I think, yeah, send Assassin's Creed back to what Assassin's Creed was, and you know, I'm happy to play a game that's just called Valhalla. That's just a Viking RPG. That sounds really, really great. I just don't want to pretend like, you know, I don't want to sort of shoehorn these Assassin's Creed elements into the story just because Ubisoft need it to be Assassin's Creed. I'd rather have an actual Assassin's Creed game rather than, you know, it both being the same thing.
And also, I have to say, I'm getting a little bit, I guess, bored of all this Viking stories being named after, you know, Thor, Ragnarok. Like, does it have to have Ragnarok in the title? Like, we already know that it's Norse mythology. Do you have to use one of the three, you know, like these very basic words that people know? And maybe that's part of it, is to get people, oh, I know about that. But like Valhalla, you know, what relevance does Valhalla have to this?
Like, yeah, like unless during the story, like, do we go there? Do we die? And like, that's where we're supposed to have gone.
Well, like, yeah, at least with for example, the way God of War are doing it is that actually they are bringing about Ragnarok, the actual Ragnarok, as part of the mythology. And so when we come to play that, you know, if you played the original story, spoiler alert, obviously the original game, not the original, but you know what I mean, the last God of War game, they actually started the process of, in that sense, like it's actually it's actually going to be, you know, related. So it's not just I think they've put Valhalla in here as just like a way to get people in. It's just a marketing thing as opposed to actually being about Valhalla.
Yeah, and again, I think that both parts of the title are marketing, because obviously putting Assassin's Creed in the title also just feels like, you know, it's an Assassin's Creed game now, even if actual gameplay and stuff says otherwise. So, you know, both sides of that that title, you know, getting two sides of it just for the marketing rather than actually just coming up with a name and making it something different.
I do quite like the fact that it's not actually going to be in like Scandinavia. It's going to be the
Yeah,
Viking raid of Britain. I
yeah,
do quite like that. Not just again because it's Britain, but because it's a historical event. And from what the devs have said is that they've actually admitted that they think people will see the similarities with parts of God of War, but God of War go more into mythology, whereas this one's going to be more on a historical aspect. And I do actually quite like that. I think that's going to be a good thing. And I think that it could be a good game. And if you liked Origins and Odyssey, I think you'll love this game. To be honest, um, I just didn't massively like those games, and so I'm not massively positive on this one.
yeah. I agree. I enjoyed those two games somewhat for what they were, but I definitely, as I've said many times in the video already, I just wish that the games were separate from the Assassin's Creed franchise and were just a historical RPG that didn't have to sort of guise itself as Assassin's Creed. I think if this game was just a Viking RPG, like I think that would be really, really cool. One of my favorite like ideas in recent times, and definitely something I'd put heaps of time into. But because it's Assassin's Creed, um, there's definitely going to be some parts in the story where obviously it has to sort of move away from historical stuff and move towards the Assassin's Creed stuff, which is probably going to feel a bit forced. But I don't know. I think we'll see when it comes out.
Well,
In terms of gameplay, it looks a lot of fun. So
it does sound like as well where you can go is huge. So like there's been essentially so you've got just even in Britain, like you go to three different sort of cities. You've got London, Winchester, and the city of York, which are all quite old,
yeah,
amazing kind of places. There's a few other spots as well, but they reckon also part of Norway. You'll start the game in most likely, but then there's also spots like Paris for the siege of Paris, Kiev, which I'm not sure what that was for. Parts of Denmark and Sweden as well. The parts of Ireland to kill a cult of druids named the Children of Danu, which would be quite cool. And then parts of Wales even as well. So it sounds like there's a lot of places to go. And as I said, I think it could be a really good game. I mean, I think what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to try again Origins and Odyssey both, and just try and maybe I missed something the way I was playing it. I don't know, but I'm going to definitely give it another crack. And I want because I want to like this game. Like I'm actually people might think, oh, this guy, but I actually want to like this game. I'm a fan of RPGs. I'm a fan of Vikings. I'm a fan of Assassin's Creed. Up until recently, obviously, but I was a massive fan. So I actually want to like this game. I just when I first saw the clip, I just actually thought that's Assassin's Creed. It was like this is a Viking game, and it just made me think, no, probably not going to get it then. But now, the more I think about it, the more I do want to. It's an incredible map. There's a little map that's been released here as well, which, like, it's this old map of the movement of the Great Heathen Army in England during the Viking expansion, and so you can see these places they can go to. I mean, that's going to be really cool if that's the case, just by itself, not even including these other bits. So, yeah, I think. I think if what do we expect it probably going to get out of 10? Just from what we know. I mean, we said 7.5 in the Watch Dogs video, the Watch Dogs Legion preview video. I've got to probably say about the same here, just to be honest.
Yeah, I think personally, I think it might be a little better. And I think the only reason why I say that is because I think Watch Dogs has a pretty high chance that the major mechanic might not carry the game. Whereas I think in this case, it's sort of tried and tested. The last two games were pretty well received. I personally enjoyed them, but not as Assassin's Creed games. As I've said, I've sort of hopped on about it a little bit, but I think the way I play them is just I sort of play them for the historical setting, and I think I'll do the same here, and I think I'll really enjoy it just for that, and I'll probably just, for the most part, sort of blank out the Assassin's Creed parts and just sort of play it as if it's a historical, just a historically set RPG. And I think that's exactly what you should do if you do end up playing Origins or Odyssey again. Definitely just, don't expect an Assassin's Creed game. Just play it as a pretty cool, like, historical fantasy RPG game.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely keen for that. So I'm not going to be rushing to get this one, but I certainly will at some point. So we will find out for ourselves what we think. I think so far the verdict from my end anyway is if you enjoyed Origins and Odyssey, then you'll definitely enjoy Valhalla. If you didn't, then you probably don't bother with this one straight away.
Yep, and with that, we're looking forward to its release date in a couple of weeks, and we'll probably sometime down the line end up doing a proper review after both of us have at least given it a go and or completed the whole game. So we'll see you guys in the future on that one.